Hello everybody, this is Matt here from GeoKnow. I don't think I've shown my face on camera yet, but here we go. I wanted to do something that's been on my mind for a little while, a series of videos explaining whether or not you should study geology, and then if you decide to do that, how to follow the next steps to become a successful geologist. So this first video I'm just going to outline whether or not you should become a geologist. Is it a good idea, or should you turn away and do something else completely? So I'm going to outline two reasons, and if you don't fit in those two reasons, I think you may want to consider another path, or maybe get a minor in geology just to scratch that itch. So the first reason of those two things, and it may be the most common reason that people study geology, and it may be the most common thing that geologists go on to do, and certainly is the most lucrative thing you can do as a geologist. And that is getting into geology for the money, which may sound funny to some people who don't know anything about geology, but yeah, there is actually a very lucrative career path for you, a way forward for you to make a good solid six-figure income and be able to be successful in life monetarily. And that is through the oil and gas industry. So if that's an industry that you've been interested in, if that's something that you like, or if you're just wanting to have a lucrative career and you find geology somewhat interesting, that may be a good option for you. But I will say that it comes with a warning, and let me explain what that is. The oil and gas industry makes money when prices of oil are up. So if prices of oil are down, you need to be very careful. And multiple industries are like this, right? The product you sell needs to be able to make money for you, or else there's going to be issues. So in times of scarcity, or when oil prices are low, this industry can be very sink or swim, or it's feast or famine, like we say. In fact, it can get so bad that you kind of need to watch your back when things get low. One of my old coworkers that I knew actually told me that back in the 80s, when things got so bad, people actually had to bring their own toilet paper to work. So that can tell you how bad things can actually get in this industry, and it may turn you away, it may not, I don't know. If you are considering oil and gas, geology isn't the only way in there. There are other career options for you. In fact, if you were to study something like petroleum engineering, you wouldn't need a master's degree to be able to become a petroleum engineer or to get into this industry. To be a geologist in the oil and gas industry, at least to be a high-paid geologist, or not just like a geotech in the industry, which isn't a bad thing to be, but if you want to have that high-paying geologist job, you're going to need a master's degree. So that's another thing to keep in mind here. If you get into geology for getting into the oil and gas industry, just know you're going to need a master's degree. And when things do get rough in this industry, it's not the geologists they're not the first to be let go when times are hard, but they're also not the last. You're going to feel the pain of an economic downturn, at least as far as the price of oil is concerned. And I mean, you may get lucky and you may not have to face that. You may not have to worry about that, but you never know. Something like a petroleum engineer, though, is going to be more focused on the production and optimization of production, which is exactly what needs to happen when prices are low, right? We need more oil for less money coming out of the ground. So petroleum engineer may be a better option for you if you can swing studying an engineering degree, which if you could get a master's in geology, most likely you could get an undergraduate in petroleum engineering. Just something to think about. So that is the first reason you may want to consider becoming a geologist. Maybe you really like the oil and gas industry and you feel like it would be a great lucrative opportunity for you. The second reason for you to study geology, and this, of course, it relates to the first one because you need to have this going into that as well, at least to some degree. But the second reason is you just love rocks. So you can't see yourself studying anything else. This is the life for you. This is your dream. This is your passion. You can't imagine yourself outside of this career path. If that's the case, of course, you should study geology, because there are many paths you can take as a geologist, and you can be successful in those as well. It's just not going to be quite as lucrative as an oil and gas job, of course, right? As you might expect. So if you fit into this situation, I would suggest don't just jump into oil and gas because you love rocks and therefore you can get a high paying job in oil and gas industry. Maybe something else would interest you more. Life is not just about money, but there is something to be said for a good life work balance, and something that you feel passionate about, something that you love is going to take you places. So I would spend some time as an undergraduate, and I'll talk about this more in my next video, but I would spend some time there getting to know the different branches of geology, which one interests you the most, which one is going to be the most in line with what you want to accomplish. For example, do you want to be in an office? Do you enjoy teaching? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to be outside mapping? There are a lot of different paths you can take and a lot of different reasons to study geology, and each of them has a career option available to you that will make you a living. So that's just something to think about, something to go forward and consider. Don't just jump on the oil and gas train just because it can make you money. Think about what you really want to do. Think about what really makes you tick, and then pursue that path because you'll be happier in the long run. In general, if you didn't know this, geologists have careers in mining and oil and gas, which is kind of the same industry, but not. They're separate. There's environmental protection, water resource development and protection, academia, government. There's a lot of different branches you can take, and there's different types of geology that you study, right? There's igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks, sedimentary rocks. Each of those require different disciplines. There's mineralogies, there's volcanology, there's a hazards geologist, there's mapping geologist, there's oil and gas, as I've mentioned. There's a lot of different career paths you could take. You can go the environmental route. You could become a climate scientist through studying geology. Of course, you need to go on to receive more education. And in most cases in geology, it's always going to benefit you to have more education. You're going to want to have a master's degree, and in some cases like academia, you're going to need a PhD. So just keep that in mind. The nice thing is, if you're going to grad school in geology, there's no reason you should pay for it. You should have your tuition covered, and you should even be getting a stipend. Just take your time, look for the right school, get good grades in undergrad, do well on your GRE, etc. There's no reason you should be paying for graduate school as a geologist. Science has funding. There's ways for you to do it. I guarantee it. So just take your time there. So just to sum up, should you study geology? Yes, if you fit in those two categories. If not, I highly recommend that you take a different path in life. Maybe you get a minor in geology just to scratch the itch. Or you consider, if you're going into oil and gas, consider another way in perhaps, unless geology is just where you want to be. And if that's the case, by all means, study geology. If this is your passion, go for it. If you can't imagine yourself in any other position or any other field of study, go for it. Otherwise, I'm telling you, there are other options out there. There are other ways you can use your talents, and geology may not be for you if you're just in it to be a half-baked geologist. This is just part one of a series of videos I'm planning to do for this channel related to whether or not you should study geology, and then if you go on to pick geology as a career path, how to succeed in the different stages of that path of study. So part two, the next one will be how to succeed as an undergraduate student in geology. Part three will be how to get into graduate school with funding, so you don't have to deal with student loans, you don't have to deal with paying tuition or anything like that. And then part four will be how to succeed as a graduate student to make sure that you're able to land the job that you're looking for. So if you enjoyed this video and if you're looking forward to those other videos to be made, please go ahead and like this video. Comment below with any questions that you still have that maybe I didn't answer, or just give me a shout out or whatever you have. Something I missed, let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to GeoKnow.